Tyrone Power names the gay two actors of old Hollywood. He dated in secret. Tyrone Power was born Tyrone Edmund Power III on May 5, 1914, in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was born into a family that was famous for acting. His father, Tyrone Power Sr., was a well-known actor who performed Shakespeare plays and was in silent movies. His mother, Pasha Rialmi, also worked in theater. When Tyrone was young, he first wanted to work in theater. He acted in small plays. After going to PCEL High School in Cincinnati, later he took acting classes at the Pasadena Community Playhouse. Even though he had trouble finding steady work at first, his amazing good looks, great voice, and strong presence soon got the attention of Hollywood talent scouts. In 1936, his big break came when he signed a contract with 20th Century Fox. In just 1 year, he became famous as one of Hollywood's biggest stars after his performance in Lloyd's of London in 1936. This movie showed not only his romantic appeal, but also how well he could act in serious scenes. During the late 1930s and 1940s, Tyrone Power became incredibly famous very quickly. He became a major box office star during the golden age of Hollywood. People loved him because he was so good at playing different kinds of characters. He could play swashbuckling heroes and also tragic anti-heroes. Some of his most famous movies include The Mark of Zorro in 1940, where his charming sword-fighting and athletic skills made him a legendary action star. In Blood and Sand in 1941, he played a confused bullfighter with both gentleness and boldness. And in The Black Swan in 1942, a colorful pirate movie that made him even more famous, Power was not just a pretty face. His acting often showed deep emotional understanding, and he worked hard to really become his characters. When he was at the height of his fame, Tyrone Power chose to join the United States Marine Corps during World War II. He served with honor and did a great job. He flew transport planes in the Pacific and took part in important missions. This showed how much he loved his country and wanted to do his duty. This time away from Hollywood proved his character. It showed that he was more than just a movie star. He was also a man of courage, discipline, and self-sacrifice. His military service earned him respect from other actors and fans. It added a lasting part to his public image. After the war, Power wanted to challenge himself as an actor by moving beyond the romantic leads and swashbucklers that had made him famous. In Nightmare Alley in 1947, he gave one of the most daring performances of his career. He played a sleazy carnival conman in a dark, scary noir film that was ahead of its time. Even though the film wasn't widely loved when it first came out, it has since become a cult classic and is now thought of as one of his greatest artistic achievements. Power's willingness to take risks and refuse to be typecast showed his integrity as an actor and his desire to explore the darker, more complex sides of human nature. Tyrone Power, the celebrated Hollywood matinee idol of the 1930s and 1940s, had a love life as captivating and complex as any of the characters he played on screen. His first marriage was to the French actress Annabella, whose real name was Suzanne Georgette Charpentier. She was a well-known star in European movies before she came to Hollywood. The two met while working on the 1938 film Suez and soon started dating. The American heartthrob and the elegant European actress fell in love. Their marriage, which happened in 1939, was seen by many as a union of two movie powerhouses. Each was admired for their unique talents and magnetic screen presence. However, their marriage was not without its problems. Annabella had a strong, independent spirit and was known to speak her mind and be assertive. This reportedly clashed with what the studio system expected of Tyrone as a male star. Also, the studio, especially 20th Century Fox head Darryl F. Zanuck, was rumored to disapprove of the marriage. They were afraid that Power's popularity with female fans might suffer. Despite these tensions, the marriage lasted nearly 10 years. though it became increasingly strained by the end of World War II. Power, who had served in the U.S. Marine Corps as a transport pilot during the war, returned as a changed man. After years of emotional and professional drift, the couple divorced in 1948, bringing to an end a glamorous yet troubled chapter in Power's personal life. Not long after the end of his first marriage, Tyrone Power started a high-profile romance with the Mexican-born actress Linda Christian. She was a striking beauty known as much for her stunning looks as for her ambition. They were introduced at a party and began a whirlwind courtship that captivated the Hollywood press. In 1949, they married in a lavish ceremony in Rome, attended by thousands of fans and covered by international media. Linda Christian was called the Bride of the Americas, and their wedding was considered the celebrity event of the year. The union produced 2 daughters, Romero Power, who would go on to become a successful actress and singer in Europe, and Tyrone Power, who also pursued a career in acting. Although their marriage seemed perfect on the surface, it was filled with underlying problems. Power's demanding film schedule and frequent absences, along with persistent rumors of cheating on both sides, gradually damaged the relationship. Linda, known for her glamour and social lifestyle, reportedly struggled with Tyrone's periods of emotional distance and his desire for a more stable, quiet domestic life. In 1956, after 7 years of marriage, the couple divorced, marking another bittersweet ending in Power's search for lasting love, in a final chapter of his romantic journey. Tyrone Power married for the 3rd time, this time to Deborah Ann Menardos, a stunning and elegant woman who is not part of the film industry. They wed in 1958, and this marriage seemed to offer Power a sense of peace and simplicity that had escaped him in his previous marriages. Deborah, who came from a Southern background and was known for her grace and charm, appeared to provide the actor with a grounding influence. At the time, Power was seeking more serious, meaningful roles and a deeper connection in his personal life. Sadly, their marriage was tragically brief. Only a few months after their wedding, while filming Solomon and Sheba in Spain, Power suffered a massive heart attack during a dueling scene with actor George Sanders. He died on November 15, 1958, at the age of 44. At the time of his death, Deborah was pregnant with their child and in a heartbreaking ending to his life. She gave birth to their son, Tyrone Power Jr., just a few months later. Tyrone Jr. would grow up to follow in his father's footsteps, becoming an actor himself, though always living in the long shadow of his father's legacy. Tyrone Power, one of the most magnetic and mysterious leading men of Hollywood's golden age, carried with him secrets that only in later years would be hinted at. Whispers passed through memoirs, private letters, and the memories of those who lived on the edges of the industry, while the public saw Power as the perfect example of masculinity. His chiseled jawline, smoldering gaze, and dashing roles in films like The Mark of Zorro and Blood and Sand. Those closest to him often spoke of a far more complex man, someone who quietly wrestled with his true self in a time when homosexuality was taboo. Even dangerous privately, Tyrone Power's romantic life was far more complicated than the publicity machine of 20th Century Fox ever allowed the public to see behind the scenes, beyond the reach of gossip columnists like Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons. Power is believed to have had several discreet relationships with other men in the film industry, 2 of whom, according to certain close friends and revelations after his death, were major stars in their own right. While he never publicly named these individuals, merging sources, including excerpts from unpublished memoirs and private letters, have strongly pointed to Cesar Romero and Farley Granger as the 2 actors with whom Power shared deeply personal, secretive, romantic relationships. Cesar Romero, best known later in life as the campy Joker in the 1960s Batman TV series, had long been the subject of speculation about his sexuality. Tall, suave, and incredibly charismatic, Romero was a staple of 1930s and 1940s cinema, often playing exotic lovers and Latin heartthrobs. Privately, however, Romero was known in certain circles to be quietly gay. Rumors have swirled for decades that Romero and Power were more than just Hollywood acquaintances. They often attended the same social functions. And while they both dated women publicly, Romero famously never married. They were occasionally seen disappearing into the more private and protected spaces of Los Angeles nightlife. A close friend of Romero's later claimed that the two shared a brief but intense romance during the early 1940s, a time when Power was also struggling with his image and identity. The second name, often linked to Tyrone Power in hushed tones, is that of Farley Granger, the handsome young star of Hitchcock's Rope and Strangers on a Train. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Granger was later more open about his bisexuality, admitting in his memoir, Include Me Out, that he had relationships with both men and women, including long-term partnerships with playwright Arthur Lawrence and TV producer Robert Calhoun, what many readers of his memoir didn't realize, however, was that Granger had allegedly had a brief but passionate relationship with Tyrone Power. During the early 1950s, Granger, still rising in Hollywood at the time, was reportedly captivated by Power's worldly charm and maturity, while Power was drawn to Granger's youthful sensitivity and openness. Their connection, however, was always under the shadow of potential scandal, forcing them to keep their meetings secret, often at private beach houses in Malibu or during European film festivals, far from the probing cameras of American paparazzi. Tyrone Power's struggle with his sexuality was made all the more painful by the immense public pressure to conform. Studio executives routinely arranged dates with starlets to maintain appearances, and Power was even married 3 times to actresses Annabella, Linda Christian, and later Deborah Menardos. Yet friends from his inner circle, including screenwriter Gavin Lambert and actor Clifton Webb, suggested that Power was never entirely at peace with the life he was forced to perform. In later years, particularly in Europe, where he felt freer to be himself, Power is said to have spoken more candidly about the men he had loved and lost. In a rare and private letter now held in a sealed collection, Power is rumored to have written, "I've lived for the crowd, for applause, for the image of the hero. But the truth is, my heart was most alive with those who could never share the spotlight with me." Though the conservative climate of the 1940s and 1950s Hollywood made it impossible for him to live openly, the hidden truths of Tyrone Power's life continue to fascinate historians and fans alike. Today, as LGBTQ history is increasingly reclaimed and honored, Power's story stands as a powerful reminder of the personal sacrifices made by so many stars of his era, forced to hide love in the shadows of their own fame. In September 1958, Tyrone Power and his wife Deborah Menardos embarked on what would be one of the final chapters of his famous acting career by traveling to Spain to shoot the epic film, Solomon and Sheba. The production took place in and around Madrid and the nearby locale of Valdepenas, areas chosen for their striking landscapes and historic atmosphere suited to the biblical drama. The film was directed by the legendary King Vidor, a filmmaker renowned for his sweeping epics and deeply human storytelling. Power starred alongside the glamorous Italian actress Gina Lollobrigida, whose rising stardom added a captivating allure to the production. This pairing promised a powerful on-screen chemistry as the story unfolded, blending grandeur with intimate human drama. Power, fully committed to his role, had completed the majority of his scenes by this point, immersing himself in the intense demands of the film set and the physically demanding requirements of his character. Tragically, while filming a climactic duel scene with his close friend and frequent co-star, George Sanders, Power was suddenly struck by a massive heart attack. The duel, a sequence requiring both physical exertion and emotional intensity, became the setting of a devastating real-life event. This sudden collapse on set shocked cast, crew, and everyone involved, casting a dark shadow over the production. Tyrone Power's health had long been a concern, as he was a habitual chain smoker, often consuming 3 to 4 packs of cigarettes daily, a habit that severely strained his heart and blood vessels. Adding to his risk factors, Power had a family history of heart disease, suggesting a hereditary predisposition that likely contributed to his vulnerability. Despite his vigorous and athletic public persona, the combination of these factors made him susceptible to heart complications that ultimately claimed his life. Medical examination after his death revealed the cause as fulminant angina pectoris, an acute and fatal form of heart disease characterized by a sudden and severe restriction of blood flow to the heart muscle. The actor's death occurred on November 15, 1958, as he was being rushed to a hospital in Madrid. He was only 44 years old, a premature and heartbreaking end to a life and career that had captivated audiences for decades. The news reverberated throughout Hollywood and the world of cinema, where Power had been regarded not only as a charismatic leading man, but also as a dedicated professional and a beloved colleague. His untimely passing left a void in the entertainment industry, and fans mourned the loss of a star whose talent had seemed destined for even greater heights. Following his death, Tyrone Power was buried in the prestigious Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which at the time was known simply as Hollywood Cemetery. The burial took place on November 21, 1958, in a solemn military service that reflected his service during World War II as a pilot in the United States Marine Corps. This ceremony brought together friends, family, and admirers who wished to pay their respects to a man who had served his country with honor, and whose movie legacy was firmly etched in Hollywood history. Adding a deeply personal and symbolic touch to the funeral proceedings, director Henry King, who had worked closely with Power and had been instrumental in encouraging his passion for aviation, flew his plane over the funeral service and Memorial Park during the burial. Nearly 2 decades earlier, King had taken Power on his first experience flying while en route to the filming of Jesse James in Missouri, sparking a lifelong fascination and love of aviation in the actor's life. In the foreword to Dennis Belafonte's book, The Films of Tyrone Power, King reflected on this connection, writing, "Knowing his love for flying and feeling that I had started it, I flew over his funeral procession and Memorial Park during his burial and felt that he was with me." This touching gesture symbolized a final farewell from a mentor to a beloved friend. Power was laid to rest in a peaceful spot beside a small lake within the cemetery grounds, a tranquil and reflective setting befitting his memory. His grave is marked by an elegant marble bench engraved with the classic theatrical masks of comedy and tragedy, symbolizing the range and depth of his acting career. Above the bench, the inscription reads, "Good night, sweet prince," a line from Shakespeare's Hamlet that serves as a tender and poetic farewell to a man whose presence had brought life and emotion to countless roles, adding to the solemnity of the occasion. The renowned British actor Laurence Olivier attended the service and honored Power's memory by reading the poem High Flight, a tribute to the joy and freedom of flight, which resonated deeply given Power's passion for aviation, and a testament to his thoughtful nature and concern for others, even after death. Tyrone Power's will, filed shortly after his passing on December 8, 1958, contained a remarkable and then unusual provision. He requested that his eyes be donated to the Estelle de Heine Eye Foundation, an institution dedicated to corneal transplantation and retinal research. This act of generosity reflected Power's desire to contribute to medical science and help restore sight for those suffering from eye diseases, ensuring that part of his legacy would live on in the gift of vision for others. After Tyrone's death, Deborah Power gave birth to their son on January 22, 1959. Less than 3 months after the tragedy, this new life brought a bittersweet note of hope and continuity amidst the sorrow. Deborah herself would remarry within the year, wedding producer Arthur Lowe Jr., a move that spoke to the complexities of life, loss, and moving forward in the wake of grief. Though Tyrone Power's life was cut short, his legacy endures not only through his films, but also through the family he left behind and the memories cherished by those who knew and loved him.